In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the power steering pump on this Dodge Ram 2500 with the 5.7 liter Hemi engine. It's located on the front of the engine and you can easily access it from underneath, so let's get started. Let's start by removing the belt so that it's out of our way. Stick a 3/8 drive ratchet or breaker bar or serpentine belt tool, whatever you have, into the tensioner, located right over here. Pull clockwise on it. That will release tension, and just take the belt off of whatever you can reach. For me, it's going to be this idler pulley down here. Once you remove it, you can let go of the tensioner. You don't need to remove the entire belt. I'm just going to remove it off the power steering pump, but this gives me the slack I need to do just that. Now reach over to the power steering pump pulley and remove the belt. You should have plenty of slack in it. With it removed, I'm going to pull the slack out from underneath here. What this will allow me to do is bungee cord the belt out of the way like this. It won't be on the power steering pump, but it will be held on to the other pulley, so I don't have to reroute the entire belt at the end. You don't need to put a lot of tension on it. I just want to hold it here. There we go. What I'm going to do next is remove the pressure line off of the bottom of the pump. You can remove the hose first, but this is the lowest point, so removing this will ensure that we drain most of it right off the bat. Use a 16mm wrench. I recommend a line wrench or flare nut wrench, whatever you want to call it, because it grabs onto a couple extra sides and it's less likely to round off the fitting. You might need to use a hammer or rubber mallet on the end of your wrench just because these are pretty tight and there's not a lot of room for very long wrenches in here. There we go. That broke free. Now that it broke free, I'm going to switch to a regular wrench just so I can get a little bit more angle on this fitting. Oh, there we go. So an important thing is that you don't twist the line with it. Looks like in my case, this has broken free off of the line as well. So just unthread this all the way. As soon as I pull this, fluid will come out, so I have a collection bucket ready to catch all that fluid. All right, we'll just let this drain. Now you'll see a rubber hose that leads onto the bottom of this reservoir. It does have a clamp on it, which is on that side over there for me, so I'll have to try to spin it so I can grab it better with my pliers, but we do have to get this clamp down before the hose comes off. So if you have to spin yours, spin it, slide it down, try to spin that hose, break it free. More fluid will come out as I pull this away, so keep that in mind. Have that collection bucket ready still. That clamp is down now. At this point you should be able to twist that hose off of there. There we go. We'll just let this drain. Time to unbolt the pump, and I have this new one so you can reference where the bolts are. You can see the 3 mounting holes right here. Of course, the pulley is still on the old one. We'll transfer that later, but this is just so you can see where they are. You can easily see the bottom one, but these two are a little bit hidden behind the pulley and up and over. So there are 3 13mm headed bolts. Let's get them all out. Let's start with the bottom one right here. Once again, 13mm socket. Break them free. Once they're broken free, you can just remove them all the way. Hopefully yours aren't corroded. A lot of times they rust in here where they go through the pump. If that's the case, work them back and forth with some rust penetrant so that you don't snap them off and then you'd have to extract them out of the engine. So just try to get them lubricated first. Okay, there's one. The second one is right here on the side. There it is. And last one is all the way up on top, right over here. As you can see, the pump is moving, which means this top bolt is coming off, and it's obviously the last one. So be prepared to hold the pump so that it doesn't fall as you remove this last one. There we go. That's out. Get the bolt out of here so you can have more space. And now we can move this line aside and bring the pump right down. There it is. The only thing we have left to do is to transfer over the pulley. At this point, I need a power steering puller to remove the pulley off of this so I can transfer it to the new one. There are multiple types of pullers. This is what seems to work for me. And what will happen is this cutout will actually go into this groove with a threaded rod in the middle that's going to push down while pulling the pulley up. Hold the base of it and thread in the threaded rod from the top, which should, like I said, push down, therefore pull the pulley up. There it is. There's the pulley. We just have to remove our tool from it, and we can transfer this over. After you've removed your pulley, inspect it to make sure it is reusable, especially since this is a plastic pulley. If it has any cracks or is visibly damaged, replace it. Having said that, I'm going to put it over the shaft of the new power steering pump, try to center it up. Don't tap it with a hammer. I do not recommend doing that because it can damage it internally. What you need is this installer tool. Find the right thread, thread it into the shaft of the power steering pump. Back this off if needed so it can go all the way down. There we go. That's bottomed out. You don't need to tighten it, you just need to bottom it out. And then with the pump, or with the pulley centered on the pump, bottom this part down. And just like when removing, when we install, we're going to tighten the floating washer here, this mounting nut that goes down, and we're going to hold the bolt. Make sure it's going down nice and even. We're just going to go down until it's bottomed out. So it got snug, and removing the tool basically uncovered the fact that it is now completely pressed up against the power steering pump, which is easy to do. And what you want to do at this point is use your puller again, if you are at this point, and pull it back out just a little bit. I'm going to hold this and tighten that threaded rod so I can pull it away just a little. There we go, that moves. It moves freely, so I'm happy with that. It is basically bottomed out to where it was, but not too tight, so we can remove our tool now. I got my tool off, and this is what you're looking for. You should be able to spin it easily, and obviously it shouldn't go forever and ever, but it should not have much resistance. You can see right here where the power steering pump mounts. My surface is in pretty good condition here. Just a little bit of dirt, so I'll wipe it off. But if yours has a lot of corrosion built up, you definitely want to scrape it off with maybe a razor blade of some sort. Something gentle. You don't want to gouge the aluminum, but you do want to make sure it's a flat surface for the new power steering pump to mount on. As well as the threads, inspect those. If yours are in poor condition, either re-tap them or just clean them out. Take the new power steering pump and slide it up into position. Once you have the pump up here, stick the lower bolt through. It's going to be easiest if I start with that one And if you pull the pump away, you should be able to see the threads where they go into the bracket there. So make sure the line is out of your way, you're not pinching anything behind that pump, and just thread it on, not all the way, but partially so that it can stay up here without falling down so you can start in the other ones. Definitely don't tighten this one yet, or the pump won't move anymore and you need it to move to line everything up. So I'm mostly threaded in on this one. I'll let it go, I'll put the other two in, and then of course we'll come back and torque them properly. At this point, you should be able to just pivot the pump like this in order to line them up. So if you stick the bolt through the second one and you move it around, there we go, that just went right in, and you can start threading it in. Now make sure you do this by hand so they don't cross thread. It's easy to do it on this aluminum surface. All right, third one. Once two are lined up, it should be very easy to get the third one in because the pump won't move much anymore. So just spin the pulley if needed and thread it through. All right, got all three started. Let's bottom them out. Perfect, let's torque them. 21 foot-pounds is the torque for these three bolts. That's the first one. And move over to the second bolt. And the third one on the bottom. There we go, they're all torqued. At the bottom of the reservoir, you'll see this black cap from shipping. Remove it. And now let's put the hose back on. Slide it over. Make sure you bottom it out all the way, just like that. And of course, get the clamp on so it can be properly secured. Try to line up the clamp with where it was before. That way it seals up the best. I'm going to use a little pry bar and push the clamp up from the backside as I squeeze it. There we go. It's pretty much where it was before. Try to center it up. There we have it. And underneath the pump, there's a yellow cap that you can just unthread. This is once again just to protect the fitting during shipping. Once you remove that, you can bring your line in, and this has an O-ring here. It's always a good idea to replace it. Make sure it's going to seal up nicely, and then bring the fitting here, thread it on by hand. Now, these fittings, if you don't have them perfectly lined up, they won't start on, so just move it around a little bit as you spin it. Looks like mine is threading on nice and smooth, so that's great. I'm going to bottom it out, or bring it as far as I can by hand, which is right about here. And now let's get the wrench and tighten it up. Once again, 16 millimeter. That's bottomed out. I'm just gonna pull on it a little bit. There we go, make it nice and snug, about 1/8 of a turn. There's an O-ring in there. You don't want to over tighten it because that will damage it. You don't need to tighten it a lot because the O-ring should do the sealing. Once you're done installing everything, before you put the belt on, make sure that the pulleys line up. Just take a glance at them, either top to bottom or from bottom to top, and if they're off a little bit, either too far in or too far out, well, the power steering pump pulley, that is, you're going to want to adjust accordingly. Either the pulley isn't seated on the shaft right, or the pump is not properly aligned with the engine block. Mine looks like it's perfect, so we're good to put the belt on. Let's get ready to install the belt. I had it tied with a bungee cord so it doesn't fall off of the other pulleys. I'm going to remove that. And now reach up here, pull the belt back down off of the AC compressor. And I'm going to slide it over the power steering pump, just like so. Now I'm noticing up there on the AC compressor, it actually is off one rib. So what I'm going to do is try to spin it and get it reseated. If there's no tension on it, should be able to do that. There we go. Perfect. So that's on every pulley. Now we need to remove tension and slip it over this idler. Now stick your 3/8 drive ratchet in here, remove tension. And slip the belt over the idler. I have to adjust how I'm holding this. There we go. All right, let go. Looks like that pulley slipped a little bit. Before you finalize everything, just visually inspect it. Make sure it's in all the ribs here. It's centered on the flat pulleys. It's on the power steering pump, water pump, AC alternator, both idlers and the tensioner. Everything is good. From the top, underneath the hood, you'll see where the power steering reservoir is. Remove the cap, set it aside, and I suggest a funnel so that you don't spill everywhere. I have this long one that will make filling it a lot easier. And you'll see in this reservoir, as the fluid goes up, it'll get up to the top here. This line is the max line, so I'm gonna go up to there. I'm going to start with about 1 quart of automatic transmission fluid. That's what this vehicle recommends for power steering fluid. So I'm just going to put it all in, and then we will continue bleeding. That was 1 quart. That's pretty close. So let's start bleeding, and then we will add more as needed. Now from inside the vehicle, turn the steering wheel lock to lock. That's all the way to the left, all the way to the right, and that will manually push all the air through the system and out through the reservoir. For this, keep the engine off and raise the front of the vehicle off the ground so the wheels are hanging. That way they don't drag on the pavement. All right, did this a few times. Let's double check the level. As you can see, the level went down, so add accordingly to get it back up to the top. There we go, that's at the max line. You don't want to fill it to the actual top here, then it will overflow. At this point, repeat the process until the fluid stops going down. At that point, turn the engine on and do the same thing, but with the engine running. That'll power up the power steering pump and speed up the process a little bit. Once you're done and you're sure that everything is bled, remove your funnel if you used one, and cap off the reservoir. There we go. Make sure that cap is locked on. Take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.